All right, I'm doing my persuasive speech on American consumerism being out of control. And the reason I chose this topic is because recently I started a new job at Target, and part of that job is what we call foreign and returns. It's basically for general merchandise, each person has a section of the store, and they take foreign items, like items that belong in other parts of the store, and take it to returns, and you have to put them back. So for example, like, say someone picks up an Advil, and they decide they don't want it in like the bread aisle, that has to get put back in the medicine aisle. So sometimes I'll have like one single item of shampoo, and I'll be in the shampoo aisle, and there's like 250 different types of shampoo, and I can't find it, and I just get annoyed. So that's why I think consumerism is out of control, because we really need so many brands and things. So the origin of consumerism basically goes back to the Industrial Revolution, which happened in America in the late 1800s. Because before that, everyone was like a subsistence farmer, except they're very rich, so they made their own things at home, and they didn't get paid money, so they could buy things. But Industrial Revolution, so factories start, people start getting paid, and you get into the 20s, the Roaring 20s, and then credit, so people can buy things without having the money on them then. In the 20s is when mail orders start, so you can buy things through the mail, and like kind of bigger grocery stores start opening. The Great Depression puts an end to that in the 30s. World War II will bring us out of that, but the whole industry is geared towards the military, so there's nothing to buy. So savings rates are really high during World War II. And after World War II, people start buying a lot of things. The 50s and 60s, like an economic boom. And if that chart, which shows saving rates was extended, you'd see that they were negative during the Great Depression, then really high during World War II, then low right after World War II. And in the 80s is when more brands started coming out. Grocery stores got bigger, like super grocery stores. And then get to the 21st century. So according to Market Watch, the average store in the 90s had 7,000 items. Now it's 40,000. Spending has increased. You can see from that chart the percentage of spending. And then advertising. So I'm sure you guys have noticed that you get a lot of ads now. In the 70s, the average American saw 500, which was mostly just newspaper, radio, and TV. And now it's 5,000, mostly because of the internet. I've read that on LinkedIn. So sustainability. The US has I think it's 4% of the world's population, but we use 1/3 of the world's paper, 1/4 of the oil, almost 1/4 of the coal, 1/4 of the aluminum, 20% of the copper, and that can go on and on. And if everyone lived like an American, it would take 4 or 5 Earths, basically that amount of resources to sustain everyone living like that. And kind of going on sustainability, I'm sure you guys know that around the world, people are getting richer, they're making more money, they're working less, they're consuming more. For example, China, their retail consumer spending passed America, and people want to live, not necessarily like an American, but a Western lifestyle like Europe, Canada, America, and that's also like Japan and South Korea now. And they want to live like that, but that's not sustainable. Like resources are finite. Eventually, we won't be able to live like this anymore. So what's the solution to the problem? Obviously, government intervention. The government shuts down industries or forces you not to buy things, and that probably won't happen. That's the Soviet Union flag. People will be like, you want us to like the Soviet Union, empty shelves and sugar quotas and stuff like that. So that probably won't happen unless the second point. Resources become so scarce that producing products becomes so expensive that either consumers can't buy them or companies can't produce them because it's unprofitable. Those kind of go hand in hand. And then some kind of movement or change in culture, like American consumerism, ends. But I feel like out of that first point or the second point or the third point would only happen if the middle one happened. Resources become so scarce that the government is forced to act or the people are forced to change. So the conclusion is that resources are finite. We can't live like this forever. At some point, maybe not our lifetimes, but our kids, our grandkids, great-grandkids are gonna have to face the consequences of what we've done, how much we've consumed. and that's Wall-E, which is basically based on over consumption. The earth becomes uninhabitable because we use everything, and it's just a bunch of garbage. So buy less stuff so Wall-E doesn't have to be so lonely. And that's my presentation. I'll use my citations.
Good job. Okay, so you do work at Target. I definitely saw you.
Yeah,
like,
I saw you. I was
saw you
walking
last
in
week.
right as you were.
Yeah, well, I thought it was you, but you had a mask on, and so I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I
didn't
was
wanna say
walking to the
anything.
time clock, so I didn't like
Yeah.
stop.